Hey everybody, welcome back to the weekly WP Roundup with BJ. Take 2 this Friday. Hopefully everyone can see me at this point and hear me. Hopefully there are no double echoes or anything going on right now. I'm thinking that everything is solved. I've been testing this and just trying to make sure that everything is going. I'm really hoping that we're as good to go now as we can be. Everything on my end is showing perfectly, and I looked and checked, and hopefully you guys have a description of full of links right now. One of the things that I want to make sure more than anything else is that you guys have these links. It kind of doesn't work without having everyone with the links going, where you can either click through, follow them right now, or save them for after the weekend, for over the weekend with everything that you have going on. So welcome back, everybody. I apologize a great deal for getting everything so crazy at the beginning, but I wanted to really just make sure that everything's going since it cut out on me. Now, just to kind of recap, those of you who are just tuning in, for those of you who may be coming back or couldn't hear me the last time that we were doing this, take 1 of this, under the news section. Under the news section, I wanted to make sure that you guys saw that the Divi update that came out a couple of weeks ago with the Gutenberg initial support. We have a walkthrough video now on our YouTube channel. You can click the link in the description this time and watch Mac go through it, so you'll know exactly how Divi is going to react with Gutenberg, at least to begin with. This is only step 1, and we've talked about this before. You've probably been messing with it over the last couple of weeks, but we have the video archived now from Mac's live stream where he walked through. I was gonna say he woke up and did it, but it was like 6 o'clock in the morning for me, so it was I was not watching it. But it's 5 o'clock in the morning, excuse me. And but you can watch that. You can check out exactly what we're doing for Gutenberg to begin with. I apologize, Alex. Alex on Facebook says that the picture sometimes stutters, and we are still working on that. Everything shows stream is good and very low CPU usage on here, and so I'm hoping that that's a Facebook thing, as far as I can tell, or a restream thing. I'm not sure. Still, like I said, working on getting the slight stuttering out. So I also said I had gotten into the Gutenberg getting mixed reactions. That was something that kind of went along with that, because Gutenberg is coming out in 5.0. 4.9.8 put the banner on where a lot more people were trying it, and it's still getting mixed reactions. That's something that it was something that they want to get people's feedback on, but the reviews, man, I could not think of the word reviews. The new reviews pretty much show the same thing. And I think that someone up in the comments on YouTube had mentioned earlier, as while it was loading, Argante said that people don't like that they're forced to use Gutenberg. And yeah, that really is kind of part of it, that people don't feel good about being forced to. But I want to make sure that all of you guys know that you have the classic editor plugin that you'll be able to use, and that's part of the Divi update, that we are not changing anything. So make sure you install that if you're one of the people who don't want to be forced into that. That said, Gutenberg 3.5 has been released. Gutenberg 3.5 has been released, and they are trying to work on a lot of different things. They're working on a lot of the issues that people have been complaining about, trying to get everything like we want it. I guess there's an edit button on embed blocks now. We can edit source URLs. I still don't think we can edit page slugs on there yet, which is, if we can, I don't know about it. And just things like that going on. So they're continuing to update Gutenberg. That's one of the things that we should all be really proud of, that they haven't hit the code freeze yet. So we still got little bit of time before 5.0 comes out. Talking about, just getting this stuff, talking about it to prepare, because this is the big thing. I hate talking about Gutenberg, and it's one of those things that is kind of weird to talk about, because it's, I feel I personally don't want to use it, and we're not sure how Divi is going to interact with it in the long term, because we haven't released, the other steps of this initial compatibility. And so I'm like, but this is the big thing. And Yoast is releasing their version 8.0. I'm not sure if it's out yet, but this is going to be where they're testing their Gutenberg integration. This is where Yoast, the biggest SEO plugin, is going to be making sure so that everyone can use their plugin and test it. So when you get Gutenberg installed and you get Yoast SEO 8, try them out and see how they play with each other. I see that Uncle Social says that he set on YouTube, set up a WP install for his friend. As a first-time WordPress user, you're going to be totally hands-off, and so you did enable Gutenberg for them. Let me know how that goes. I want to know how they use, as a brand new WordPress user, how they use Gutenberg, because I did the same thing, and I showed them Gutenberg, and I showed them the regular one, and they wanted to use the old classic editor. So I mean, it's 6 of one, half dozen of another, right? That also, the advanced custom fields plugin, which probably everyone watching uses, or a vast majority of you do, the vast majority do. They're adding their Gutenberg compatibility in their 5.0, and it's being slated for September. So all of the major plugins that you're using are announcing their Gutenberg integration, and so you shouldn't be worried about anything. A lot of people are working on this to make sure that you don't lose any work, you don't lose any clients, and just make sure that you don't lose any sites or money. I mean, that's the thing. Nobody wants sites or functionality to go down. Excuse me. Uncle Social said on YouTube that they came from Wix and they've made good progress building their site. That's really good. Coming to WordPress from Wix really is kind of a graduating of it. I was looking through it just recently, and the Wix builder is fine, but going into WordPress, even with Gutenberg, Divi, any of ours, it really does feel like version 2.0, so I'm glad to hear that. Excuse me, I'm saying a lot today. I got flustered when the stream cut out. The Divi sneak peek this week that I wanted to make sure that I told you guys about is that we are putting in the back end of your website a support center. You can click the link in the description and read all about it and watch the video that Matt's put out. It's really, really cool, where we're going to be able to connect you with a live representative right within your background, right within or back end of your website, that you're going to be able to see all of the details of your installation. You're going to be able to do stuff that you usually have to install another plugin for, to be able to just check like server health and site health and things like that. You're going to be able to basically get your diagnostics through Divi, so that when we're talking to you, that you're on with a support rep, that you're able to get them exactly the information that they need, and that you're going to be able to have remote support like that, where they can act as quickly as they can, because you're going to be going through your website and you can see exactly what it is. And Uncle Social, there is a link to a YouTube video in here. There is the link to that, and I'll paste that in Facebook as well for folks. That's the link to the YouTube video for the support center. It's going to be really cool. I look forward to this a lot. All of our support and help are getting so much better that I am just so excited to use it myself in some cases, with this knowledge base and everything that's being added right now. Those are the kind of things that I as a user use a lot. So I'm excited for that. And the final thing that's under news that I put under here, and I'm kind of rushing through this because of how things started, but I want to say congratulations to our friends at Aspen Grove Studios. They've announced, and it's just right around the corner, of their 42 theme that is going to be for Gutenberg. It's going to be in the plugin repository, or the theme repository, and I just thought it was great. It looks beautiful, and the Aspen Grove folks are just absolutely wonderful. So I wanted to give them a shout out, because their new theme that's coming out is just great, or it looks great, and it's going to be built specifically with Gutenberg in mind, with custom Guten blocks. So definitely check that out when it's released, and check out Aspen Grove Studios, because I like them. And when I saw that they were having their an actual specific Gutenberg theme they were putting out on their own. Oh, sorry, I bumped the table. Everything, I just had to get it out there. So let's move into the tutorials here. I'm trying to get through more of this in the time. We'll probably run a little bit past 3 today, just to get through stuff with since it was late getting started there. And the first thing under my goodness, I can't talk. The first thing under the tutorials that I want to go through is the Flywheel article on the everything you need to know about a client before you brand their business. This is for a lot of you designers out there and people who work at agencies maybe. Sometimes developers have to do this too, and even though it doesn't necessarily always fall within the parameters that you thought you would be doing, but there are questions that you need to know even before building a website sometimes on, you have to have a basic understanding of what these companies do, what makes them different from their competitors, that what can you do for their site and for their brand that brings something new to the table. And you need to know, I was about to start coughing, you guys, I'm sorry. You need to know how big the company is. You need to know if it's, like they say, a single person company or huge corporation. That's really going to change the feel of the website that you do for them and the branding that they're going to need. And most importantly, it's who their audience is and how they want to be perceived. Like, they go through this and explain each of these so that you can really know what you need to get into with your clients. And I love these kinds of questionnaires. I love talking about and looking at and making sure that there are specific things that you can sit down with a potential client for and know what you're going to ask and know exactly what you need from them to get them the best product possible. The worst thing is going into a client meeting and not having any kind of plan and just kind of talking it out. Being able to lead that conversation makes you look much more professional, and it makes it so that your job is easier down the road. And I think this was one of the better checklists that I've seen, because not even checklist, but just prep questions to be able to get some of the stuff that you need, and just they're simple and they're concise. So I wanted to put that down there. And then I see that there were a couple I put on here about Divi Booster showed you how to do an animated submitting icon to the contact module within Divi. They've got the code that you'll need to use for that, and Gino Quiroz, I actually don't know how to say his name. Don't know how to add borders to an image that extend beyond each other at the corners. It's really cool with the extended borders around the corners of these images. So just go look at that. That one's neat as well. And then for you developers that, I don't know if you guys use WP CLI. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's a command line interface where you can basically do everything that you do from your WordPress dashboard in the command line. So you would just type everything out, and it's wonderful. It's a little complicated to use, but it is fast once you learn how to use it. And there is a really good article that WP Reset did on getting the functionality of WP CLI in with your plugins. It's really cool that you can add extend a PHP class and then get it in there where it's supported. So that was really cool. So if you want to add that kind of support to your plugin, do it. It's as easy as that article is. I see that George in the YouTube comments uses WP CLI. How do you like it? I'm assuming because you use it that you really like it. It hasn't been a part of my workflow. I mess around with it and try to learn it for different things here and there, but it's never been something that I've used day in and day out. So I'm curious on day in and day out if it makes your life a lot easier. Using it. A lot of people have told me yes on that. And Uncle Social, I see your branding and naming. You have to explain the joke every time that you don't let your business be antisocial. It's a real downer and unprofessional. Well, I'd started doing the same thing online when I started blogging. My first name, I was working at a college, and so my branding, I wanted to brand myself and everything I did as Professor B.J.I. That was really who I was at the time, and now I haven't taught at the college in a couple of years, and I'm still keeping that, though, because that's what I built up, and that's what people know me as, and every time I've mentioned leaving it, they're like, no, you're fine. Keep it. That's what we know you as. We'll still call you Professor. And I'm like, okay, whatevs. But it's something that looking back at branding that you've done in the past, you see how much time needs to go into figuring out the long-term effects of that branding. And I see that Judy has done exactly what people do to me. She says in the YouTube comments that you don't need to explain it to me. I think it's perfect. So it goes to show that people will like any branding, and you can't do wrong. You just may do something that you don't necessarily like yourself anymore. But what can you do? And George on YouTube says that it's old habits from Linux with WP CLI. That's actually what made me download it in the first place. That's what made me get it, because I was in the middle of installing Ubuntu and for the very first time and playing with it. And I was like, everything can be done from the command line. And I was just really, that was my really intense computer BJ doing that. But I totally understand that. So moving on into some of this, there are some 5 frequent WordPress issues that Torque Mag goes through. That just check this out. Make sure that you don't do these. That you know how to solve these. Excuse me, that was not the way to put it. That these most frequent WordPress issues are things like the white screen of death, that you load a WordPress site and you just have blank screen. No words, nothing. It's just there. And then, error establishing database connection. I guarantee that every single person watching this, or I'm willing to bet, let me say I shouldn't guarantee, I'm willing to bet that every person watching this has had an error establishing database connection error before, and they've got solutions for it. Even the parse or syntax error where you've messed up something on your PHP and it tells you what line the error is on, that one is getting in and figuring it out and talking about getting into your PHP code through one of your code editors. And memory exhausted, things like that, where you can add just a single line to your functions.php. The only thing that I don't like about this particular article, even though it does go through and tell you what the article or what the solution is, like the solution for the memory exhausted error is increase memory limit by adding the code line to your functions PHP, but they don't give you the code line. They don't give you the increased memory limit line that you need to paste in, so you have to go elsewhere. But the solutions are there, and if you've never been able to solve or have problem solving like the white screen, look through that and you'll get some fixes for it. So, hi Ripon. Ripon, I cannot remember. I'm so sorry. You told me how to pronounce that. Now I can't remember. I'm so sorry. I see from Judy that professor means somebody who professes. Yep. That is funny. They do. Kids with glasses do get called professor a lot. And Dr. Dre's neither is Dr. Phil, not medically qualified. But Dr. Phil's still awesome. But like, you need to watch an episode of him and Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. It's a good show. Oh, do they, Matthew? I completely missed they have the defined memory limit. Well, goodness, I'm sorry. Sheepish. I actually did not see that. I may have earlier and didn't now because I forgot and have so many things that are going through my brain. That there's one on, I'm not even gonna click into it to talk about this time, but if you don't use Zapier or or IFTTT, you need to automate things to get some stuff going automated on your WordPress site, and Pagely has a really, really good walkthrough of that, has a good post on getting that set up and started. You need to look at that. Like, one of the things I use IFT for is to, when one of my podcasts goes out, it takes the description and image and posts it on my WordPress site as a draft. So I can go in there, tidy it up, and post it as a blog. So there's that. And Judy, Dr. Phil is actually a PhD. I actually had thought that he was a licensed therapist rather than a registered psychologist. So that one is new to me. So I just had his qualifications wrong. So but yeah, still, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, Dr. Phil, awesome. And Uncle Social, that you don't use Zapier or IFT. I personally like IFT better. Zapier has premium stuff that you can use more of, where they integrate with a lot of different things, and IFT doesn't. And I've never had to worry about the stuff I have not working on there. I've set up IFTs for working with Discord webhooks, everything, and it's good. I know a lot of people who do use Zapier, where it because it does a lot. It does a lot of things with a lot of just very specific software. It seems to be more, business oriented and professionally oriented than IFT does. It's for everybody, but the functionality is essentially the same in my experience with it. And Repon, what help do you need? Let's see whatever your thing is. Hopefully someone will be able to help you in the comments, or I can. I'm missing if I've missed your question on there. Repeat it. But I just see that WordPress theme development tips. Is there anything in particular that we can help you with? While you type that out and people get their stuff going, move a little further down the description here. The list. The word is list. Y'all see, I'm a little sidetracked right now with having that stream cut out at the beginning. If you go further down into the tutorials, you'll see how to fix common SSL issues in WordPress. This one I need you guys to look at because it's so important. It is so crazy important that everyone has these SSL issues sorted out before the end of the year. Google is going to start penalizing people who don't have their websites secured, not by lowering your search rankings, which is already in, if I think so, or it's coming in next month, maybe September. They're going to start showing only insecure sites as having a red padlock, and there's not even going to be a green one anymore. So people are going to have their eyes drawn to that and seeing all of the errors that they're bringing up. I've had issues already this week with Chrome in development sites, and I'm like, I know I don't have the SSL certificate up yet. So looking at mixed content errors, they've got a lot of these in here. And just bookmark this page so that you have all of the functions, all of the plugins that you may need for these common errors, because it's great just to have a reference when you need it. I see. Oh, Judy, you're sweet. I've never thought about that, Uncle Social, that it's SSL shaming. That is a good way to put that. And then the last thing that I wanted to point out in the tutorial section is WP Lift wrote an article on a plugin that lets you display Facebook reviews on WordPress. I wanted to bring this back up. I think I touched on it a couple of months ago, but make sure that if you run a small business and you have a Facebook page, that you're pushing people to give you reviews on Facebook, because this is a huge way to drive business to a local business, to a small business, especially those who are focusing on a very particular area like a small town or a geographic area. People are on Facebook and they're looking at those reviews. Now, whether you use Facebook or not is something completely different, but having a business page on there where that you can even just use IFT or Zapier to update your page, you can still do that. The API allows you to still push to individual pages, not timelines. That having those reviews on there saying that you have like 40 5-star reviews and people are talking about how great your services are, having that on your website is wonderful. These really do help businesses. I've known a lot of people around my area here who have these and are pressing people who always talk to new clients after they finish, or even old clients after they've worked with them a couple of times, being like, hey, I'm working on building this up. Can you give me a review? People are looking at that, and I'm getting a lot of referrals through Facebook, and that'd really help. Where even if you don't use it, that's something that that other people do. Where I don't like using Facebook as a promotional tool. It doesn't work for the way that I interact with people, but it's something that I use like this to stream, because that's how this particular audience interacts. Our audience with Elegant Themes is on Facebook a lot. So for my personal stuff, I'm not there, but it does a lot for us. So it will just depend on who you are, what you're doing, but the reviews do that. I see... George says, for people using hosting companies regarding SSL, for people using hosting companies that don't provide free SSL, let's encrypt. Just use Cloudflare. They'll issue a free one for you. I didn't know that Cloudflare did that. That's awesome. I had no clue. And of course, GoDaddy only has paid SSL. I'm just going to stop. And I do see Uncle Social's point, using Google reviews with Google My Business listings. If you have a physical location, the Google My Business listings are everything. You're right. You are absolutely right. I remember talking last time about the storytelling festival that we were working with. And because there was a physical address, we could get it on there with the My Business listings, and it was great. Like, it really helped. So Google and Facebook are there, but that's what this plugin did. That's what this article was about. So anyway, I want to move into the resources. If you guys are just joining us, this is a new stream to you. We have just renamed the show. We're no longer This Week in WordPress. We're now the weekly WP Roundup with BJ Keeton. That's me. And we go through the news, tutorials, and resources that we've been able to find on the internet, all around the web, and just share some stuff that hopefully you will find useful, and just hang out in the comments, talk to each other, try to solve each other's problems. If you have any questions or comments, please chime in the comments on Facebook or YouTube. We have it streaming to both, so just get involved. We want to be friends. Like Uncle Social says, we're all friends here, and gonna ignore the last part of that, but you're right. And but moving into the resources, I just wanted to point out that if you don't listen to the Divi Chat podcast, give it a listen. And the reason I say that today is because the Divi Chat episode 88, the blogging with page builders, it's the very first one under resources down there. It has our very own Nathan B. Weller, our content manager, on there talking with the Divi Chat folks. And it's a very interesting podcast. And just the show is good in general. They have the newest episode, I think, is working with a remote web design team, where they're talking about having a spread out team all across the world, even outside of of the United States and domestically, working with a spread out international one. I'm a little distracted right now because apparently my cat that jumped in a few weeks ago is now climbing up and down across the chair that I have directly in front of me. So I'm like, awesome. But you need to check out the Divi Chat podcast, especially the one with Nathan in it. And blogging with page builders is a thing. I mean, Gutenberg is coming, and it's a page builder, and all of our people are going to be blogging with it. We were talking at Elegant Themes just the other day about what our workflow is going to be. Are we going to end up using Gutenberg? Are we going to keep the classic editor? How exactly are we going is this going to affect our workflow? And so some people already blog with Divi. Some people use the Divi builder to post their post content. So just something to look at, something to think about. It's a very interesting topic to me, obviously, because working at Elegant Themes, but it's something that maybe you guys are interested in as well and have clients ask about, like what the best practices are. And it's going to be a way better issue, I think, whenever we get the theme builder. That way you can have super awesome, easily customizable blog templates that way as well. So crossing our fingers that comes out. Divi Soup put out free. They have a freebie. I think this is the 15th one that they've given away on. This one was a 2-tone post slider module for Divi. It was a third-party module that was just pretty. I saw it and I was like, you guys can get some use out of that. I know that a lot of you guys do use sliders, and this one was pretty to put in Divi. There are some issues with the customization on the default one, and this one is super pretty. Check it out. Divi Soup is great. And then this one, the third one. Okay, y'all, click on this WP Shout article. It's the third one down under the resources, and look at this. This is so cool. This may be because how much I love technology and like adopting new things, but standup.io is a stand-up tool that works like Snapchat stories, or Instagram stories, or, Uncle Social Facebook stories, where you can put out a very short video for your entire team to kind of put in what you're doing, what you've been doing, and how you're going to approach it. Because some of you guys may run stand-up meetings already, and I love stand-up meetings. I think they're great. Every Monday morning, we get together and have a call and a meeting as a team to work out what's going on in the coming week and what we did the last week. They're fantastic. It happens at my wife's library that she works at. They have a stand-up at 9 a.m. every Monday morning. And if you're on a remote team, or distributed team, that's the word I was looking for. If you're on a distributed team, if you are just not able to get everyone together at the same time for some reason, it's really good to find software that works in some way for you. And Snapchat stories, not Snapchat stories, I guess you can use Snapchat stories if you really want to, but standup.io is really neat. Like, I saw this, I looked through it, and I really want to use this somehow. There's a free, it's business oriented, it's not social, it is not a public thing at all, but it's using that idea to move forward in the business world, to really bring people just this. It's a snippet. Stand-up meetings don't usually last very long, and it lets everyone go through, answer questions, look at what's going on. I love the idea of this, and like I said, it may be just because of how excited I get about new uses for technology, but I don't like Snapchat, and I don't like using Instagram and Facebook stories. That's not the way that I use social. I didn't like Vine. I don't like short form microblogging content unless it's on Twitter, and then I love it. But this one's neat. This is a new use for that technology that I'd never thought of, and that I think is a very good use, that sometimes this will save time for small meetings that just catches everybody up. And it's a whole lot better than an email thread. It's a lot more coherent and cohesive than a Slack thread that everyone is talking about. So that everyone's talking back and forth in. So this one's cool. I like this. Give it a look-see. It's free. There's a free trial. I can't remember how much the actual pricing was, but it's a good one. This is a good idea, and I'm really excited about it and talking about it. I'm way more excited to tell you about this than I thought I was gonna be, but it's just neat. I don't know why this one really hit me, and it's just neat. But anyway, Yoast, down there underneath that, if you slide down or scroll down, whatever you like, the Yoast put out a what exactly is duplicate content. This opened my eyes. I knew that taking duplicate content, that the way that Yoast and Google and everyone approaches it from an SEO standpoint, I knew that it wasn't just pasting an entire article somewhere else, or having an article here and you're changing a few words here and there, like a college freshman does on their freshman comp papers. Yeah, it's not that at all. It is. I didn't realize that you can be penalized and Google will look at it, and when you just have blocks of content, you may have the same paragraph showing up on your page and it looks at it as duplicate content. You may not be necessarily penalized for it, but it's there. They'll look at 2 URLs. Sometimes Google will index one page over another by seeing that maybe this is where the content originated that's duplicate, which may mean that one of your cornerstone pieces that may have a repeated paragraph intro may get ranked lower than something else. So they're talking about using the rel canonical to be able to tag it and make sure that you have indicated to search engines what you believe the original official home of that content is. And you should be using it anyway. It's awesome. And they have a link in there to the ultimate guide to rel canonical. It is very, very useful. And if you're not making use of it, check this one out. So I've had 2 Yoast things this time I've had to talk about, y'all. I know, right? I see that. I'm glad that I'm your spirit animal. I apparently he and I have the same ideas on social as well on how we use it. But I will say that I found a couple of plugins. I had a friend ask me about it in one of our blogging discords about if there's a way to publish WordPress posts on Instagram. And that was something I never thought about because you can have long form content on Instagram. And yes, there are ways. So I'm looking into that a little bit more because that's something I can get into. I like long form content that's highlighted by an image and then you can interact with. So maybe that'll be something that I get to do. And I don't know. We'll see. I also see that Matthew Turner says, if you want lightning fast hosting, this is on YouTube as well, you guys. If you want lightning fast hosting, it's cheap and on the dedicated level at Dashing Light Hosting. That's interesting. I've never heard of that one. Justbeingme.host. That's interesting. Never heard of them, so I'm going to check that out. Host. That's how I remember things. Like I use bookmarks a lot too, but my friend uses only tabs. So whenever somebody has something new, he just opens up a new tab and then he looks at it, deals with it later, or keeps the tabs open that he wants. So that's what I just did for you, Matthew. To you, I guess. I used that. Speaking of Yoast, underneath that article, underneath the what is duplicate content article, I have one that TorqueMag did again on what some of the high quality alternatives are for Yoast. Some people just don't like using Yoast. It doesn't work for some people. For years, I used the first one that they actually mention on all-in-one SEO. That's the one that got me through probably the first at least 6-7 years of blogging, and I switched to Yoast whenever I did that. Whenever I started working at Elegant Themes specifically, I started putting it everywhere because I use it every day and I know how to work it. But All in One got me through it, and it's very good. They talk about SEO Presser, SEO Framework, Premium SEO Pack. There's one called SEO by Squirrely that I just love its name because I used to have a baby squirrel that I rescued out of my yard, and I named him Squirrely. Well, my wife and I named him Squirrely, so that one's one I'm going to check out. And so I wanted y'all to know about that because I know that some of you guys have mentioned not using Yoast in the past, so there may be an alternative out there you didn't know about. Excuse me. Let me see. There are... Oh, that one. Excited again. There are 2 articles down here that I hope you get to click through and have a chance to watch. One of them is watching the top 10 sessions from WordCamp Europe. I've talked about that a little bit, like the WordCamp as it was coming up. But WP Tavern put together a list of what they considered the best 10 sessions that you can watch from WP TV, WordPress.tv. And because all of them get streamed, all WordCamps get recorded, and you can see all of them on WordPress.tv, and they have ranked the keynote, that Matt Mullenweg did. They've got technical SEO tips to grow WordPress businesses. They've got the ethics of web design by Morten Rand Hendrickson. He is one of them who gave probably the best known Gutenberg talk at WordCamp US last year. It gets linked in a lot of different places and just different things. I was thinking about things. The progressive WordPress themes that Alberto Medina and Thierry Muller did, it's neat. I like progressive stuff. So look at it. Watch those. And then also the web development, I looked at a different one. I was reading the wrong one. There are interviews from WordCamp for Publishers that TorqueMag put together. And WordCamp for Publishers was a really cool idea that they put out this year. It was a specific WordCamp that was not targeted at users. It was not targeted at just anybody involved in WordCamps or WordPress, because WordCamps are generally open-ended. WordPress users of every age and every skill level come to WordCamps. I've seen kids and teenagers. I've seen people who have not installed WordPress yet and were looking to see if it was what they wanted. And that's great. I love that. And this one was kind of an experiment that was for any publishers. Like, that's what it was for people who were involved in publishing at all. It was in Chicago this year, and there's a video on a playlist on what this is. It's really, really good. So watch those. I love different kinds of interviews. And it's really cool. Like I said, I love WordCamps, I love conference talks, and I love interviews. Those are my favorite things because that's where you get actual insight. That's where you learn how things work and actionable points that you can implement in your business. I listen to podcasts, and my favorite ones are, I don't like the kinds of podcasts that I do, actually. I don't like listening just the 2 people talking back and forth, which is what my podcast is. I like the ones where they're interviewing an expert in a field, and they talk about just different kinds of like back end experience and behind the scenes stuff that no one but them knows about, that you as a user and outside of that company wouldn't know about. And that's the kind of thing that interviews make me happy for. So these from WordCamp for Publishers really seem interesting. And Uncle Social, yeah, that's exactly what it is. He says on YouTube, the WordCamp for Publishers sounds great. I'd love to know more about how these giant publishers use WordPress for vast sites, and that's what it is. That's one of the things that they were specifically talking about, was how to scale it to large publications. I know that if you go back through the archives of this show, there is one where there is a guy from Vanderbilt, excuse me, there's a guy from Vanderbilt University, the Vanderbilt Medical Center, who has sent out a bunch of articles on how they're preparing for Gutenberg, and then there's even more on there that you can see about using that he's written for Scale, actually, on how he uses WordPress for Scale. I met him at WordCamp US, and very, very interesting stuff. I'm glad to see that that Vandy uses that, especially since it's just a few hours away, and that they're so involved in the WordPress community. Like Nashville, Tennessee has a great WordPress community. It's fantastic. I'm actually wearing a WordPress WordCamp Nashville shirt for this one, and that was just completely, I was like, I'll wear that one today. So, and then the very last thing on here before I get out of here, again, is that Flywheel put this one out a couple of weeks ago, and I was going to talk about it last week and couldn't. So I wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of this one, because it's not so much a research, it's not so much an actionable article, I guess is the better way to put it. I guess that's not what it is. It's looking at this. It's called, let me get back to the title so I don't get it wrong. The Web Development Team Roles That Every Stakeholder Should Understand. People don't know the difference between a designer and a developer. And there's a big difference where, they may not know what an SEO expert is. What does a requirement analyst do, or a project manager? Exactly what is the project manager responsible for? What the difference is between UX design and UI. This breaks down a lot of stuff that even we in the field probably misuse sometimes, that they don't go into my favorite title, even though it's really what the project manager does. They don't go into Scrum Master. That is the best job title that any of my friends have ever applied for, was to be the Scrum Master at a government institution in Huntsville, at NASA. I think actually they were looking for a Scrum Master, and it is. I just like saying that, y'all. Think about that, like, hey, how you doing? I'm BJ. I'm a Scrum Master. It's like you're saying something out of like a video game or something. It's just weird. It's like something I would be fighting in World of Warcraft is what it sounds like. But they go through what these are. They go through what project managers do, UX designers, marketing strategists, all of this. They have a list. They have links. Really good. I know that we on the Elegant Themes blog had posted a while back about the difference in a web designer and a web developer, and this really takes that and gives you a high-level overview of it all. So read that. It's a very interesting read, and it's something that at some point in our careers, it's going to come up where we have to actually say that to somebody and tell them what this is, or they're going to come to us and tell us that they're a requirement analyst. And we're going to look at them and be like, what was that? It's like you can't have you can't have a professional conversation with someone who says, and you don't know what they do. It puts you on a different level within that conversation. And yeah, like a Scrum Master, if you think that they're on the pirate ship, that you're swabbing the decks and shoveling the scrum, that is not going to be a very professional encounter with somebody. So if you think they're a pirate. So anyway, that's going to do it for this week for the brand new The Weekly WP Roundup with BJ. Every Friday afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be right here on Elegant Themes. On youtube.com/elegantthemes/live or facebook.com/elegantthemes, and you can watch this show anytime when it's archived on Facebook and on YouTube. Like I said, this will be the new title of it for a while, and if you want to get notifications on when we go live, because we do have multiple live streams here at Elegant Themes, click the little notification bell under this video and we will let you know whenever we go live. And by we, I mean YouTube, because we're going to press the live button and they're going to send the notification. But check out all of the content that I've linked in the description. Make sure that you give these content creators some love. Let them know what you like, because without them, they really, really, like, I wouldn't be doing this if they weren't putting out this content, because goodness knows I can't write that much in a week to be able to talk about. So check them out. They're awesome. And thank you guys for dealing with the stream confusion, with it knocking in and out and then just cutting out completely in the descriptions. I don't know what's going on, but we've got it fixed. We hung out, and I hope that your weekend is just fantastic. I hope that your Friday goes wonderfully quick and you can go home soon. And don't forget to check out the next live stream that we've got, 6 a.m. Eastern time. Mac is going to be going over the Divi feature updates. So he has a lot of people asking him questions about how to use different things. So check that out. It's awesome. I know that for those of you in Europe, that it is much easier for you to catch his 6 a.m. Eastern stream than maybe it is this one, and especially in Asia as well. I know some of you guys are up late over in India, so thank you for watching. I really appreciate that. And Middle East, everywhere. I don't just want to say India. Thank you, India, but thank you, India, and everywhere. But Max is very active at 6 a.m. Eastern, so check it out. It's the next show, and I will see you guys next Friday. And thank you. I appreciate you all. Bye, guys.